I'm at 170 properties now, I'm 28, and I'm not planning on stopping. Even the portfolio, we've just hit £25 million asset value. Bought the building for 1 million, only refurbed one of the flats, and then refinanced at 1.8. At any one time, you've got 25 to 30 refurbs, some buildings I've never been in. If you want to grow a portfolio, the main thing is just having a real...
Welcome to another episode of the Property Developer Show, the podcast. Today I'm joined by someone, again, a very rare breed in the sense of whenever I look over at Ewan, I always feel like I'm not doing enough. And I've been trying for a very long time for us to even connect to one of them relationships that we spoke over WhatsApp, every other platform on planet Earth, but actually meeting you in person because you're Scottish based, but here you are.
Yeah, no, thanks so much for having us on. I think we've obviously followed each other on social media for a few years.
Absolutely.
And yeah, just life is busy, but obviously managed to come down today, so looking forward to it.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's genuine pleasure. And you are one of the, I suppose, individuals in this industry that I just take a lot of inspiration from, because I do look across and I think, wow, you are doing an insane amount and I'm not working hard enough. So genuinely, it's impressive what you've done over the last few years.
I appreciate that, mate. Thank you.
No, pleasure. So we'll dive into it then. Being young, building the portfolio that you've built, building the mortgage business and the financial services business that you're building, living in Dubai, operating over here at the same time, where did that drive start?
Yeah, good question. It probably started when I was quite young, so just like a lot of people grew up with not much money. And then as soon as I was 16, I was like chapping at the bit to start working. So I got my first job at 16 and I've pretty much just been working since then. Got interested in property because I managed to save up some money. The idea was to maybe get 10 buy-to-lets and then I didn't have to have a job, but I've somewhat overshot. And during that process, I was actually trained to be a financial advisor. But I got to maybe 20, 25 properties, didn't want a job anymore. So then effectively, I'd already done my mortgage exams, so set up the mortgage business seemed like a good move because I was more interested in property, but I still wanted a trading business and enjoyed the financial services aspect. So it's all just snowballed really from there, but it has been, 28 now, so it has been 12 years of pretty much working every day, I would say,
Yeah. And people don't tend to see that part. It's always like now, and obviously, we were chatting when you were flying about in your Nissan Micra and living your best life probably.
Yep.
But now fast forward, you just literally dropped in there. No, I bought a £3 million building yesterday.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. It has just snowballed. But again, so yeah, £3 million building on Friday. I'll probably refinance at £6 million plus. So you're talking all money out plus 1.5 million. But it all just starts with one property and then the second and then the third. I have been doing it for probably 4 or 5 years. I remember 18 months ago, I'd agreed a big building that was valued at probably 1.6, but probably worth £2 million now. And I had it agreed at £900,000.
Wow.
So I knew it was an amazing deal, but I was missived in, which in Scotland effectively means you've exchanged straight away. I was £100,000 deposit. And basically, I wasn't sleeping for 6 weeks while I was waiting for the finance to come through. But effectively, it was the exact same situation with this one. We had 4 weeks to buy it, £150,000 non-refundable deposit. Probably had about 10 grand in my bank when I actually agreed the deal. But because I'd done it 18 months ago, you kind of knew where you were at and you have done it before. So it has all just compounded. And although the numbers get bigger, especially with the deals, I am doing the kind of simple model of buying a building, doing a little bit of work and refinancing, So it is the exact same model, but the numbers do get a lot bigger.
So how does that, because a lot of our listeners are England based or English and Wales, and obviously the Scotland market operates on a completely different capacity. So in terms of how that actually comes together then, because, buying a building for 1.6 or whatever the figure was, and then being able to refinance it pretty quickly for a massive uplift.
Yep.
How does that actually work in terms of the transaction and the refinancing? And
yeah, so it's actually, I would say it's very much the same in England from experience from financing them. The mortgage business is probably 60-70% Scotland, but 30-40% England. So we do a lot in the northeast and the northwest of England. But effectively, those two deals were different. But the one that we just bought on Friday, or I just bought, it was valued at probably 4 million going into it. So I was buying it £1 million discount effectively. I'll spend £400,000 or £500,000. Again, it's just kitchens, bathrooms, paint, decorate. It's nothing structural, nothing to do with planning, nothing to do with building warrants. I try to stay away from that because the whole business is based off of speed. And effectively, that should push the values up, I think, closer to 6 million. So it really is just bridging in and then refinancing, you know.
Are you funding that through investment then, or partly sort of principal lender?
Yep.
You know, what does that sort of look like?
Yeah, so typically you're bridging in, and obviously you've got a deposit. So you might be, say, maybe an 85% bridge on average. Some will be 75, some might be 90, some even 100. And then you might be either borrowing the deposit funds or using your own cash. But usually now, a lot of the time it's your refinances that's funding it. So this deal in particular, because I'm buying so much in volume, I've probably bought maybe 80 or 90 properties so far this year. You've constantly got refinances coming in. So what actually funded this building was a 250k investor loan plus 750k from refinances. You know, so you actually forget that part. It's almost like constant cash flow, which is good about doing the kind of simple BRR deal. Most of my clients, I would say, typically they're borrowing the deposit funds, which is a great way to do it because effectively the bridging lenders are fine with that. And obviously if you know what you're doing, you can get into a deal with pretty much no money. And then when you do a little bit of work, you split titles and then you refinance. Typically, if you've bought on a bridge, the mortgage lenders aren't asking where the deposit money came from. You know, so from the investor point of view, because sometimes mortgage lenders don't like that, then it's kind of how most people are scaling their portfolios. And I've had clients, probably 2 dozen clients go from pretty much zero buy to lets to 50, 100 plus. You know, and they're all doing the same thing.
In a year, then.
Probably since 2-3 years.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Everyone's a little bit different, but 2-3 years. Yeah, and it's all the same method, you know.
And that's effectively buying a portfolio undervalued in a sense of they haven't spent money on it for a very long time.
Yep.
And then you're also adding a further discount to that. You're then sprucing up all these properties and then refinancing it at the inflate. Basically buy, refurb, refinance at scale.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it's the simplest way to do it because you have got a bit of scale there, but the process is the exact same. On the way in, you're typically using one lender, but not always. If you have a problem with a property, for example, you can't get access, we might split the lend. Or sometimes, if it's a little bit tight, we might increase the purchase price of some of the properties, put them through on a mortgage, and then reduce the prices of the other ones, and then put them through on a bridge. So you're almost going in on a mortgage, and then you're getting a higher kind of discount on the other ones, which makes the kind of BRR worth it, and it makes the fees worth it as well.
Are you an active property developer looking to expand your network, meet the right service providers, and learn from industry leaders? Then join us for the 2026 Property Developer Show. We'll be heading to Bristol on the 25th of March, London 13th of May, Southampton 10th of June, Birmingham 15th of July, Manchester 9th of September, and finally Leeds on the 7th of October. Tickets are free. Register at thepropertydevelopershow.co.uk or use the link in the description. And I look forward to seeing you there. Where are you sort of generating these deals from, I guess?
So, I mean, most of my business was done in a city called Stirling in Scotland. So it's between Glasgow and Edinburgh. There's a huge uni there, and it's a kind of medieval city, so it's hard to build there, you know. So it's been a great place, but ultimately when you buy 100 flats in a town of 50,000 people, you almost start running out of properties, you know. So I would say a lot of deals this year, I've been buying blocks of flats in Glasgow. They have come from kind of sourcers, traders and clients as well that are sourcing property.
Right.
The first one in Glasgow was at the start of the year, so I bought the building for 1 million, only refurbed one of the flats and then refinanced at 1.8.
Wow.
So what I did at the back end of that one was I split the titles and I took it to different lenders at the back end. So I actually got 80% loan to value for each one, so it was all money out plus £342,000.
Wow, nice. I mean, yeah, it's unbelievable, really.
Which is, phenomenal for cash flow, and you forget that.
Yeah.
You know, you almost focus on, and rightly so, you focus on the money you're actually making, but you forget from the refinance money, you've got, £2 or £3 million coming in a year sometimes.
I mean, obviously then the kind of skill set that comes with operating that level of portfolio, you know, doing one or two buy-to-lets here and there, you know, it's a different level compared to the level that you're sort of at. What skills have you had to or outsource, or, you know, the team that you're using, you know, what's the biggest shift really from managing that level of deal? Yeah,
good point. I'm quite good at outsourcing. So that is good. I've got an incredible team. So in the mortgages, we've got a team of 5, but they're all kind of like very, very good. And they would wipe the floor with a lot of even business owners, mortgage brokers out there, if I'm being perfectly honest. One of my staff members has about 25 flats himself. And he helps with a lot of the stuff, you know. So that helps with a lot. And effectively, we're good at I'm good at the finance and process and paperwork, and I try to stick to that in terms of the portfolio. So I'm not out there sourcing properties, but ultimately when you buy a lot of property, you get offered a lot of property, so you've got a constant stream of properties coming to you. I've got an incredible letting agent as well. So he goes above and beyond for me. So he does everything from utilities. He does, obviously, all the rents come in, everything's looked after. He deals with common repairs as well, with other landlords, so they're really probably broaching on a kind of portfolio manager role. But effectively, he is a letting agent. And I suppose as well, I've got two to three build teams as well. And these guys just run all the projects, so everything's done just via WhatsApp. And to be honest, all I really do is transfer them the money. So at any one time, you've got 25 to 30 refurbs, some buildings I've never been in. I bought a big one in summer there, a block of flats. And it was probably one of the worst ones I bought because all the joists were rotten and the roof was rotten and the roof got replaced. So it turned into a £380,000 development. But the guys finished it in 10 weeks and I've never been in it. So it is probably those key people. It's probably the team within the mortgage business, and also the letting agents and the project managers. But all that comes with time. Even one of my project managers has been phenomenal for me this year. We've known each other, just like I've probably known you through social media. I've known each other for years, and he actually shut his business down last year and messaged me about a few refurbs. So we started with one or two and then it's really took off.
Amazing. So what was that kind of turning point for you where you kind of went from the simple buy-to-lets, doing one units here, and then all of a sudden went for that portfolio? How did that kind of happen? Yeah,
so it's been a slow transition, I would say. So the first portfolio block of flats I bought was probably 2022, so it was about 3.5 years ago. But ultimately, when you're trying to do deals, you're trying to do a lot of deals, and you're trying to do good deals. Sometimes beggars can't be choosers, so you're doing a lot of singles, and I did really like the singles, to be honest. But as things transpired, there's more and more portfolios and blocks of flats coming up, especially in Scotland. There's huge tax advantages to buying 6 or more properties. Effectively, you pay something between 0.5% to 1%.
Wow.
Whereas on an individual property in Scotland, you pay 8%.
Wow.
So it's a huge reduction there. But also, I'm at 170 properties now. I'm 28 and I'm not planning on stopping. So I do like the fact of owning full buildings, even just from a management, a maintenance, and not dealing with other landlords' point of view. So that's been a huge kind of attraction to me. So that's basically transparent. It's kind of really focusing on blocks of flats. And I suppose where I was in Stirling, you've got a university town there, and a lot of the older commercial buildings have been converted in the 70s and 80s and 90s. So there is just generally a lot of blocks of flats. And I suppose probably the other turning point was summer, where you've got 16 purchases going through, you've got 16 bridging paperwork, 16 refinances, and I think just the paperwork got a little bit much, especially being in Dubai. So that's probably since then I've just really focused on the blocks. So we've got a big one settled on Friday, and I've got 6 more lined up already next year.
Wow.
And if I can do maybe 10 a year blocks of flats rather than 80 or 90 or 100 singles, then I think it will lessen the workload.
Yeah. I suppose if it's one transaction with multiple properties, it's just one set of paperwork, isn't it, really? Rather than, 100 sets of paperwork.
Exactly. Yeah, typically one loan in, one loan out. It actually makes underwriting a lot easier as well.
Of course.
So before I was buying in Stirling, so you knew absolutely everything. Now I'm buying in Glasgow. I do know it from being just spending time in Glasgow, but the areas, the numbers, the end values, I'm not an expert on. But it's easier to underwrite 19 flats in one building than it is underwrite 19 flats scattered about.
So in terms of, I suppose, balancing that, I suppose, massive transition from the single stuff, because you can kind of keep on top of that in your head, whereas now I can imagine, buying various portfolios, various refinances coming through, managing cash flow from a sort of cash management perspective, plus the debt, plus the capital growth, plus the tax that comes with all that. There's a hell of a lot of stuff that goes into that from the buy, refurb, refinance kind of perspective. What are your kind of, because you're saying you manage the finances side, what's your kind of process? You just P&L every month, what does that kind of look like?
If I'd be perfectly honest, it's a lot less organised.
Fair enough.
So like I said, we're probably the portfolio and the mortgage business, in fact, is probably doubling each year. Naturally, the mortgage business is clients. Do you know what I mean? So you need to look after clients. The portfolio is somewhat of a side hustle. I think it will become a lot more organised in the next 18 months as we look to hire people in. You know, there's certain roles where it's maybe a part-time job now, but it'll be a full-time job pretty soon. So it's probably a lot less organised than you would like to think, to be brutally honest. But on the flip side, we have went from 70, probably 80 properties last year to 170 now. So it is growing fast. The main things, in terms of balance and cash flow, in terms of refurbs and in terms of money coming back from refinances, it is pretty much in my head. You know, so I've got quite a good memory like that, if I'm being honest. You know, there's not a lot of systems. And other things that kind of cause issues, I suppose, in terms of systems is utilities. The letting agents do that. In terms of P&L, so all I do is basically check my bank account at the end of every single month. You know, so fortunately I bank with Starling, so it's very easy. I don't know if you bank with Starling, but Starling break everything down. So it kind of does your job for you. You know, I see exactly what's went out on the mortgages and insurance. I see what I've spent on refurbs, and I see what I've spent on the what rents effectively come in. You know, but it is very hard to track because, as I said, if you get 25, 30 refurbs on at one time, you've probably got 18, 19 empty in a bridging loan. It is, I think you just need to accept the fact that it's not going to be perfect while you are growing. But ultimately we are looking to hire kind of within that sphere. I mean, I did have somebody looking at it, but then because the mortgages is busy, again, his time, like my time, goes into the mortgages.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. I mean, it's kind of, I suppose, everything up in your head, but getting it onto paper is that's where the sort of the process becomes a bit more 100%. Gentle and allows further scalability rather than running everything here. And
I think as well, we do get away. I mean, ultimately we're buying really good stock, really good stock that rents well as well. I mean, in Stirling you're getting 600 a room. Glasgow's similar, so that kind of sees you buy a lot of stuff because it's thrown off a lot of cash flow. You know, so things like that, and then you've got build teams that they've known you for a while and they do genuinely try keep all the costs down. You know, so you're a lot of the time you really are relying on trust the letting agent as well. We should be a lot more, not all over them, but checking certain things as just a matter of principle and being a good businessman. But effectively, you have got people there that you like to think you trust, and in reality, they are kind of always looking out for you, always keeping costs down.
Yeah, absolutely. So how do you find juggling? Because you say, you know, property side hustle, full-time business is the mortgage business. I mean, I'm obviously I had a mortgage business a few years back. And to be doubling every year is phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. So from a business perspective then, what's kind of going into that? Yeah,
great point. So probably from the first year to the second year, we probably 4x'd, and then probably going into a stage of doubling now each year. But we have only been doing it for 3 years. So I will caveat with that. It's not like we're 10 years in, doubling every year. But probably the main thing is you've got a lot of repeat clients. You know, so one of my clients, probably the largest landlord in Scotland, I think we've got 177 mortgages with him at different stages right now.
Wow.
So it is almost like clockwork.
Do
you know what I mean? You're dealing with more professional people. They're a bit more organised. And also in terms of myself and the staff, you really know everything about. I mean, they're a business. I've got one member of staff that just phones the lender every single week to run for every single one, you know. So that does help. So a lot of repeat clients. And effectively, it is just keeping things simple. It's doing what works. I find a lot of brokers either promise a dream. You know, they say you can do all this crazy stuff, and then when it comes to reality, you actually can't. But then on the flip side, you might have someone that it's a residential mortgage broker who says, oh yeah, I can do buy to let. But then effectively they can't. You know, whereas we like to think, we try to keep honest. We try to say, yep, you can do this or you can't do that, but then try to keep it simple, you know. And it's using the correct lenders as well. Sometimes it's not the cheapest interest rate, but it's the lenders that will actually get the job done. You know?
I mean, anyone that's listening to this podcast just thinks that what you're doing sounds easy, but I mean, that's the way you make it sound. But what you're doing, and you're spinning, buying the portfolios, running the mortgage business, living in Dubai, coming over it, like.
So most of my day, I mean, each day I'll probably wake up and you might have, say, 15 or 20 buy to let apps from the day before. I'll do all the research on that and I'll pass it over to the team. Then they'll then submit the applications. And then aside from that, in the afternoon, you're usually just picking up calls, replying to messages and stuff like that.
Do you sleep?
I do sleep. Yeah, I do sleep. Yeah. And being in Dubai, it's I'd say it probably more helps. I mean, effectively, we're not spending our time meeting clients. We're working. Do you know what I mean? Like, we're in a serviced office, and all they're doing is doing events, and they're putting the Christmas tree up, and they're doing this and doing that, and they're always saying how busy they are, and you're kind of thinking, well, what he's actually doing? Whereas my staff are sat in the office or working, you know. So that's huge. I suppose Dubai does help with the time difference as well. I'm not a 5 a.m. guy, but in Dubai, you can get up at say 9 a.m. UK time, but it'll be 5 a.m. Sorry, 9 a.m. Dubai time, 5 a.m. UK time.
Okay.
So you can get everything off your desk before the day even starts.
Yeah.
You know,
that's handy.
so that is huge. But it's I think we've got a good process, you know, because it's not. I'm probably not as busy as you might think.
Fair enough. Well, that's a good place to be. Like you say, you're good at leveraging and offloading tasks by the sound of it.
Yeah. It's having a good team, and again, it's just doing the same thing all over again.
What's the key to having a good team then?
I don't know. My first 4 hires were great, and then I thought I was great at hiring, and then after that, I realised I was probably just lucky. So I'm honestly not sure. You know, I think you just need to make the best decision you can, and then effectively, obviously, just support them, just be sound, and then hopefully they can kind of run. And if they can't, then obviously you need to have another conversation. You know,
Absolutely.
like I said, one of my staff members, he just runs all the bridging. But again, he's from Pakistan. He effectively came over here on a European visa, and then got interested in buy-to-let. So bought about 5 buy-to-lets, and he came on as a client. And just by chance, he was building furniture for IKEA. So he ended up coming out and building a wardrobe that we got. And it's a fucking hard wardrobe, by the way. Sorry, let's say.
It's
Do
okay.
you know what I mean? So I asked my dad to build it. He couldn't. So he came out and built it. It's like a 6-hour job. He did it in 1 hour. And then he asked me, "Is are you in like the mortgage broker?" I was like, "Yeah, I am, yeah." So effectively, he ended up asking me for a job. So I just seen a few things. I seen he was a hard worker. He had a corporate job as well. He had a degree. He was interested in property. And then he's been phenomenal.
Wow.
You know, so even like we do probably £3 or £4 million a month in bridging. I don't even speak to anyone. He just does it all. You know, so that's one huge thing. A couple other people on the team. My partner Michu. So I think when you know someone, they're your life partner, you can see what they're like, and she really does care, and she wants to do a good job. You know, the other person's really good. He joined from a local estate agency.
Nice.
You know, so you already kind of done business with them when you're buying properties.
Yeah. So your partner works in the business.
She works in the business. She was my first employee. Yeah.
How'd you find that?
I find it great because she can do the job, but I think she likes the job, but not working for me. You know, so it's one of those. It's not perfect, but ultimately it helps, and she's good at what she does, and she's been doing it for 3 years.
Yeah.
I think that's the other thing you need to remember is people do improve. You know, so if you take someone on after 1 or 2 years, no matter where they're at, if they've got the right attitude, they do improve.
Absolutely. You know? I think that's attitude above anything else. It's that if you can spot that approach to work, it doesn't matter what the skill, you can teach near enough anything, any skill set, but if they've not got that sort of desire to learn or to improve or to receive feedback, then they're not going to grow. But if you employ someone that has the work ethic, is willing to grow, willing to learn, then the world's their oyster, really.
Yeah, and it's all about repetition and volume. You know, and that's, I suppose, the good thing about our office. When you're doing 1,500 loans that are all broadly, they're all bridging loans, they're all limited company buy to let, the majority, you do start learning.
Yeah.
You know, all these little quirks that you start doing. I mean, even one recently, so we get a lot of down values in the northeast with Connells. And then we realised Foundation Home Loans, who's a lender we use a lot, effectively, if Connells aren't available, they would use eServe. We spoke to them and says, well, why can't we just use eServe? So they've got a workaround to allow us it. So effectively now our loans in the northeast don't get downvalued. You know,
Amazing.
And that's not criticising Connells, or it might just be one surveyor, but it's just seeing an angle. But that only comes with large volume.
Absolutely.
And it's really helped our business. Yeah.
If you are a property developer, deal sourcer, or just simply run your own business, you already know business is built on leads, follow-up, and relationships. The problem? Most people are juggling spreadsheets, inbox chaos, WhatsApp chats, half-finished CRMs, and opportunities are slipping through the cracks. That is exactly why we use GoHighLevel to power the Property Developer Show. It centralizes your pipeline, automates your follow-up, nurtures your database, books appointment, manages WhatsApp, email, and SMS marketing. It quite literally gives you back hours every week whilst increasing your business efficiency to enable you to scale. We have become avid users of the platform, and we love it so much we had to share it with our community. So with that, we have teamed up with GoHighLevel to host regular automation and AI webinars, provide access to our exclusive support community, share pre-built automations, and even secured you an extended 30-day free trial instead of the standard 14 days. If you want to systemize, scale, and finally get control of your business, sign up today using the link in the description, or if you'd like to learn more, you can sign up to our next webinar, where we'll lift the rug on exactly how we use the software ourselves. I mean, I keep saying it. I apologise. I keep blowing smoke at your ass, but you do make the whole process sound very simple, which I think is a trait I see in successful guests. Is they don't overcomplicate any of these processes. They just very much focus on what needs to be done. The actual technical stuff is passed to someone else that can just deliver on that technical. You know, obviously, you're a guy that specialises in bridging, but from your perspective, you're looking at things from an holistic perspective to go, okay, does that fit there? Does that need moving there? Okay, that's done. That's my day finished now, effectively.
Effectively, yeah. And I suppose from the mortgage point of view, the main thing is getting the valuation instructed, right? So when we submit an application, it'll come in today, it'll be submitted tomorrow. Then the guy's focus is then getting the valuation instructed, because nothing matters until that happens. You know, there's no point dealing with packaging, answering questions and all that until the valuation's instructed, you know. Some lenders it instruct straight away, other lenders you need to fight with them. But then once that's instructed, on average it'll take a surveyor 1 week to come out and then 1 week to return the report. So then you've got 2 weeks to deal with all the packaging stuff. That should be done in those 2 weeks. The value comes in, and in theory it should go straight to offer. I think with the property stuff, I would say just, if you want to grow a portfolio, the main thing is just having a relentless focus on the next deal. I would say, you know, so I actually did a refurb tour at the weekend, 2 blocks of flats. One we've just finished, one we've just bought on Friday. But my mind's not on those blocks of flats. I mean, that's done. I've bought it, that's done. It's over to the builders. The builders will liaise with the letting agents. My thinking is, where's the next ones? You know, because I know I'm going to get a bumper refinance in Q1 next year. So basically what I'm doing is lining up 5 or 6 blocks of flats for next year. So it is always having that relentless focus. And you're right, you always don't have the answers. You know, some of the questions we're getting at the weekend, it's just like, I don't know. You know, even my letting agent's like, well, sometimes you don't know. You're just like, oh, how's it going to perform? I was like, I'm not rented it yet. You know, it's an 85 room building. You know, what type of student's going to be there? I'm like, I don't know. A student. Yeah, but it's just, we all do it. Then we all overcomplicate stuff. And then, I don't know, even if I'm trying to get to the next level and I'm asking someone, you probably do ask these stupid questions as well. But I think nobody's really got the answers. It is just keep it simple and just keep cracking on. Yeah,
it's literally that, isn't it? I mean, it's just another zero at the end, and the same problems, and you can find consistent problems that people sort of deal with as the business scales and grows, but there's always telltale signs of what they are and where they lay. And it doesn't matter what business anyone's in, they are pretty much the same in a sense of staff, cash flow, balancing the books, you know, finding new business, all the stuff that kind of comes into that. I guess from your own perspective then, what's like the end result for you? You know, what are you chasing?
Yeah, good point. I'm honestly not sure. I know a lot of people come on podcasts and say they're going to do this and going to do that, and more often than not don't. But I've really got no major plans. I think we'll just keep buying. I think we'll just keep doing the finance. I think I'll probably stay in financial services for the rest of my life. I do enjoy it as a business, and I do enjoy the property stuff as well. The main focus for us right now in the property stuff is just buying more blocks of flats. And I don't really see that. I don't really see that stopping. You know, so
I get that.
Yeah, I get that. I just keep continuing. One of my clients, Alex, I think he always says, just keep doing one thing and do it forever. You know,
I mean, the most successful people I know have just done the same thing, the same boring thing repeatedly for very long periods of time, and that is the bit that people hate. It's just the repetitiveness of doing the boring thing delivers the most amount of success.
100%, yeah. And don't get us wrong, it sounds boring saying it, but in reality, you're always trying to figure stuff out. Even like you're trying to figure out how to hire better, or how to improve this process, or maybe how to trying to learn a new avenue within the business, or maybe each deal you buy as well, it's a bit different. You know, I mean, that's the biggest deal I bought on Friday, so that's a little bit different. You've then got 19 HMO licenses, you've got office premises on the building, so you've got all this stuff that makes it a little bit different. And although you're doing the same thing, they're always, I think you get the kind of the learning and I suppose the interest and the kind of details within that, you know, although it sounds boring on the outset. But I think the main idea is, don't go, it's like the typical thing, people do an Airbnb and then they'll do a buy to let and then they'll do a rent to SA, and ultimately they're actually getting nowhere. You know, and even when you listen to kind of people that are further on in business, you know, even if you've got a letting agency, you've got a mortgage brokerage, you've got a estate agency, you set up a legal firm, it's just like, well, you've probably got 4 average businesses rather than just doing one well.
Yeah, absolutely. You know? Unless they're partnering with people that can run them businesses. And
yeah, but even then it's mind space.
there is that as
Do you
well.
know, like I use my letting agent, and look, it almost is a partnership. You know, there's a lot of business gets referred. He rents an office off of me. I mean, maybe that would have made sense for a partnership, but ultimately it's mind space off of me. Do you know what I mean? I would rather focus on like how do I serve clients, how do I grow the mortgage business, and how do I buy more buildings?
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, that's enough to take up most average person's
That's
bandwidth.
what I mean. Yeah. So it's, I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And I think that's particularly in the property space, I think that's a trap that people do fall. And I fell into it myself. You know, when I had the financial services business, we were doing mortgages, life protection, agriculture finance, asset finance, invoice finance, commercial finance, bridging, development. You know, the list just went on. And like you say, it kind of, you end up doing too much. I had a letting agency as well at one point. But now I'm like very much like it has to fit the ecosystem of the show in some capacity. Otherwise, it's all property, you know. Like you, it's a side hustle.
And I think you either learn the hard way or the more positive way. I mean, probably from even just buying the single lets, the buy to lets, the amount that I've learned and the things that you didn't even think was possible, and then you find out it's possible. I think that just reinforces you. But like, well, I'm doing the right thing here, because every single deal you're learning something. You're like, God, I didn't know I could do that. I didn't know I could do this. So you're almost getting that positive reinforcement. But it does take time when you're starting out, and it is a long process, you know.
100%. I mean, that's the thing that people forget, though, isn't it? You know, it's easy to kind of think, oh well, you know, you're 28, you bought a £3 million building, like. I mean, that just seems ridiculous. But there's been a process behind that of, you know, one bed flat, another one bed flat, and then eventually, you know, you kind of push that barrier of, or I suppose it's not a barrier, is it? It's like what your normality is. It keeps going, edging forwards, gets bigger, scarier.
Well, I think the more you do, the more you think, well, what could I do? I mean, I've even the portfolio, we've just hit £25 million asset value. And then even if you do the maths, if we just grow 20% a year or 10% a year, it's going to be fairly huge. And look, I don't plan to grow 10 or 20% a year, but it does take time. I mean, speaking to people at the weekend there, and they're kind of on their third or fourth buy to let, clients and stuff, and I was like, look, I was delivering pizzas, cleaning in a hospital, working my main job, and I had 21 properties. Do you know what I mean? The basically doing all those jobs will just help cash flow things in the early days, because you are tying up money. Even if you're doing great deals, there's money getting tied up all the time, and you do need that cash flow coming in. But it's just a process. But I think maybe people might listen to a podcast and it feels a bit more real, or maybe we can go for a coffee with people or clients, or you're doing a refurb tour, so you're like, oh, he's done that, I'm just you, and that's easy. But they don't really see the 10 years that's gone by previous, you know. And I think that's what's tricky.
You do have a tendency of making it sound simple. But I mean, that's the relentless focus that I think you alluded to. It's that, you know, working alongside building a portfolio and not having the ego to think, oh, I'm too big now for, you know, to be working them jobs. I shouldn't be doing that. But that, because I bet you look back at that time now, I know I do it on my own mind. I look back where I was 5-10 years ago, putting the graft in that I was, doing all the hours, and I thank myself for what I did back then, because there was a lot of sacrifice, there was a lot of pain, but now because of that, I'm in a better place today.
Yeah, it's two ways I look at it. One, I look at it that maybe you shouldn't have spent so long doing odd jobs. You know, I've seen a few other peers that have maybe took more risks earlier on and are further on in business. But on the flip side, I think now, when you look at what you're doing, or you're having a hard day, you just think, God, well, it's not like I used to drive 4 hours to work at a cleaning job, which sounds crazy. It was my hometown, but I was like, I'm not waking up at 4 a.m. to get there for 7 a.m. and doing a 12-hour shift and then going to an Indian restaurant at night. So it does kind of humble you a little bit now, because ultimately it's easy to get comfortable, you know, and it's easy to think, oh, I'll just take it easy. But then you think what you do for a living now. I mean, today I'm working, I'm coming down to Liverpool on a podcast, I've been on the phone all the way down. It's really not work compared to some of the jobs I used to do. And I think that's great, because I don't think that'll leave you the rest of your life, you know.
Definitely. How do you sort of find that? Because that is a transition as well, you know, getting wealth and having nicer things, you know. How do you sort of battle with that, if that's the right word? Yeah,
I get you. So I don't really spend much money at all. I think naturally, maybe obviously moving to Dubai makes you spend a bit more money. I mean, there's just stuff everywhere, you know. I've got a nice watch on today, but that was actually a gift from selling a deal.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, I would say the transition is slow, and I think that's a good way to do it. I mean, ultimately, we moved house about 18 months ago to kind of a house that would probably see ourselves in for the rest of our life.
In Dubai, is that?
In Scotland.
Oh, right, okay.
But then also kind of moved to Dubai as well. We split our time, you know, so we'll probably get a house in Dubai. Still not got a car yet, so I still use the work van, you know, so again, you look forward to the car. So I think it's just, for me, it's just doing things slowly. You know, when I grew up, you're always waiting 6 months for Christmas until you got a new pair of trainers or something.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good way to do it, you know, because you don't need to go out and buy everything straight away. You can just kind of delay gratification and just keep doing it, but ultimately don't just delay forever and don't spend anything.
What do you think? Because you've said stuff in this episode that that all formulate who you are as an individual, which is just basically a walking, breathing business buying property machine. What do you think in your own mind kind of skill sets and attributes you have that formulate that perfect recipe?
Good point. I'm honestly not sure. I think I'm good at getting deals done and deals funded. I think I'm good at seeing angles, you know. So I think if you're maybe doing like a personality trait or whatever, I'm probably more of a deal maker. And it's just looking at something like how do we structure it? And I think that's what kind of lends itself to doing the mortgage finance, you know, and also lends itself to obviously buying property and buying buildings. And it's actually just been creative. I mean, we had a client case recently where they're buying a house in Loch Lomond, which is a lovely area in Scotland. It's an Airbnb, so it's absolutely printed money. You know, it's making about £150,000 a year net, but effectively it got downvalued by £200,000. So I just said to my client, I was like, well, what's your relationship to the vendor? They were kind of business colleagues, they knew each other. So I suggested, well, would they do a deal where you could vendor finance 150 grand because they're making all that money? No, oh yeah, I didn't think to ask. So effectively they asked the question, they said yes. So suddenly the down value wasn't an issue and it went through at the lower price, but on the premise that they've got a relationship, and because it was making so much rental yield, they can pay them back through that. So that's probably the skill set. And then I think there's got to be a little bit of a obsession as well. You know, I'm a bit of a collector, you know, so I went from Pokemon cards to Hot Wheels cars, and you know, I do like acquiring assets and collecting stuff like that as well. I think that kind of
Pokemon to property.
Yep, yeah, literally, yeah, Pokemon cards and then flats and then blocks of flats, you know.
Well, I don't know what comes after that. But.
Well, the only thing that might come is since my client Christelle bought us this watch, I mean, I've been getting hooked on the watches as well, so I'm trying to keep that at bay, you know. But I think the next one could be watches, but you're still not going to get £3 million watches.
No, well, you have to get yourself on a list. It's probably worth getting on a list now for when you can afford.
Maybe, yeah. But then you're spending all the money on property. So
well, there is that. Yeah.
So
yeah. Well, that's a delayed gratification skill coming in there.
Yep. Yeah, look, it's delayed gratification, but it's also fun. You know, you're kind of always looking, like us all, you're always looking for the next deal and the next thing to buy. And ultimately, you are investing, you are delaying gratification a lot, but you're also enjoying the process. Yeah.
Well, that's the key, isn't it? It's enjoying the process. And I get that vibe that you literally wouldn't trade anything that you're doing now for anything in the world.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not without its challenges. Some days you're like, oh God, what am I doing? But again, it's good fun. I enjoy it. I think it hits the circle that you're good at it, you enjoy at it, and it makes money as well, you know.
Yeah. What advice then would you, to round the episode off, give to people that are maybe looking at portfolios or trying to grow their portfolio? You know, what would be?
Yeah, I think a few things. I would always keep your job or keep your active income. You know, and maybe even supplement that by doing deals in property. You know, do a lot of deals on the side where if I'm not buying it, you'll sell the deal on, and you can charge fairly substantial fees. So I would always keep that in mind and try not go down the route of I want to be a full-time landlord or whatever. And I think as well, I would try where possible to buy good stock. It is trickier at the start, and ultimately you need to buy cheaper stuff maybe to get going. But I do think there's a kind of hybrid in between. Maybe, I don't know, if you're in the north of England, Scotland, 75 to 150,000 pound, where it can be a good area, but also gives you a good return as well. Because I don't think you ever regret the good properties you buy. I would say the other thing as well is just do what you said you're going to do, and just don't waste people's time. You know, I think people get so much respect just from actually doing what they say they're going to do. It's such a simple thing, you know, and even if it's not for you, just say like, that's not for me, but thank you. And then the other thing as well, just try not get bogged down on the details, try focus on effectively getting the next property. Lean on your professional advisors, just work with the right people. I think that is really key as well. And then just have a relentless focus on the next deal.
Amazing. Great stuff. Well, if people want to reach out or follow the journey or get in touch, or if they've got a mortgage, how can they?
Yeah, so if, probably the best place to get me is on Instagram. So the link to the website's there. You can also book a call as well. And I'm on LinkedIn as well. So it's EKD Finance is the mortgage business. Ewan at ekdfinance.com. And you can also get me on Instagram.
Brilliant. Well, awesome. Appreciate you making the trip down.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Scott. Appreciate
Pleasure. Thank you very much for tuning in. Obviously, as I said in my intro, Ewan is someone that just makes me feel like I need to be doing more, but he makes it sound very simple. So hopefully you've had some value from this. Obviously, some takes on growing a portfolio, going from simple buy-to-lets to, massive portfolios, and running a mortgage brokerage. Get my words out, brokerage at the same time. Brilliant work from Ewan, and I hope to see you all very soon. As I always say, please do like and subscribe, and I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.